Elected members, staff, CEO, members of the gallery, welcome to you all tonight. Great to see the gallery full of interested people. Welcome to the council meeting for Tuesday the 24th of January 2017. I'd like to open this meeting by acknowledging the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their ongoing spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and acknowledge that their cultural beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Read you also the Council Pledge. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the peace and prosperity of our city. Thank you. Be seated. Do you have any members who should declare a conflict of interest for any item on the agenda tonight? No more obviously, so okay, nil. On leave we have nil, apologies nil. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on Tuesday the 20th of December. Councillor Harris, wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
We have a seconder. Councillor Evans, wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Take a vote then. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. So the next item is the Mayor's report on page 5. Written ahead of time, I've had a check and it's still valid. So happy to take questions or seek a move on the floor to note the report. If the Mayor wish to speak to it, do I have a seconder? Councillor Evans wish to speak to it.
Thank you.
Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Verbal reports from council reps on local government or community organisations. Are there any verbal reports? No. Move on. Petitions, there are nil. Deputations, we have one tonight from Mr. Jack Condis. So if we could ask Mr. Condis to come forward and perhaps take the seat just over here by Councillor Harris, if you could. And I note our meeting procedures say that everyone should stand when addressing the chair, including deputies. Mr. Condis has told me that he had a motorbike hang gliding accident or something, and I hope it was exotic, but can't stand. Mr. Condis, for the purposes of the minutes, could you please state your name and address?
My name is Jacob Mahoney Vasily Gonzalez. I was born in Australia, changed by default to Jack Condis, and my address is 46 John Road, Prospect, South Australia. I'm resident 20 years.
We'll record your default name. That's okay. Yeah, and do you have 5 minutes, please?
I have some handouts, Mr. Chair, that I would like to pass to the elected members, if I may. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I feel very privileged that we've allowed this delegation. I'm rather nervous because I understand this is a very important meeting and there's a lot of people in the audience. I've attended a few council meetings, we've had other people meetings, but not as many as this. Fantastic. In introducing my background, I come to you with an experience internationally and Australia-wide experience, highlighting my interest in the involvement of the arts and involvement in community asset and community involvement. Yeah, I hope you can't hear me back there. I hope I would fire that way then, if that's all right. I'm conscious of the working name Click.
You are required to address the chair, so you have to try and work out how you do both.
Righto. Well, I think I'll try to speak up if I'm
that would work better.
Well, okay. I'll have to scream, will I? I'm conscious of the working name Click, the reference group, and why I'm here. And to my mind, it's about location and what you do with location in terms of the relocation that you're about to embark upon. A very important issue for this council and for this community. I deem it once in a lifetime, and probably won't happen again in my lifetime, but location is the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. I've met the CEO, I've met several of the staff, councillors. I've been on the phone to them and talked. And as a background teacher in education, involved in the arts, involved in the community planning and development, I think there are some important issues, no doubt, councillors will need to take into consideration in what you do in the future. The role of community centres, whatever they're called, whether they're Click, whether innovation, whether they're a creative community centre, are very important. And the location of that brings in people no doubt will bring in people if it's a vibrant centre. There are great examples of this, both in South Australian interstate, where the arts and a variety of forms of the arts, I'm not just talking about the visual arts, which I have a major interest in galleries, and I'm a vice president of the Royal South Australian Society of the Visual Arts of South Australia, which is another name used by that organisation. It plays a significant role. It can play an even more significant role if you have the right people, the right community to work in there. And you've got some fantastic examples where the council has delegated that authority to their community to run things in our society. It's happened in Prospect, it's happened around South Australia. Such centres play a significant role in the well-being of the community, the well-being mentally, physically, intellectually, socially. Meeting in such centres can provide intellectual stimulus, workshops, creativity. And I was only talking to the CEO of the Adelaide Festival Centre, and she was telling me that of writers that come to South Australia, we have 125,000 that attend that writing conference in the parks, and yet we have very little of happening in our regions outside of the centre. I think the opportunity is economically viable for us to tap in, network, liaise, get people involved of the right kind to make such centres economically viable for a creative community. The facilities are used by ratepayers in many instances, without costs. If you're a ratepayer in, for example, Walker, you want to go along to a meeting centre, you can book in and it's free to use. That promotes the growth of that community, and the development can occur by other people coming in. Partnerships can happen. Fantastic partnerships. And only today, I said to the CEO just a while ago, I negotiated with the director of the Royal and the president that we want to have a closer relationship with Prospect because of its background and history. I think if we can formulate a memorandum of understanding, I'm sure we can play a major role in the development of what we want for the future. People are continuously wanting to connect their minds and their hands. There's no doubt about it. You travel overseas and you see what's happening in many of these small towns and centres. You just go to Bilbao and you see in Spain many of the communities on the way, what they're doing with their wine, what they're doing with tourism, what they're doing with their arts and their crafts and their painting and their writing and their music. It's a joy to visit those places. I think Prospect can be a joy too. It's so close to the city. 1 minute there. 1 minute. Okay. We have to tap into the business, the possible ventures of the future. I come back to location and I come back to the preference of my preference for the site. I'm keen to see the development of Johns Road. That is the tram barn. I live on Johns Road. I'm probably tying a noose around my neck by saying that there'll be more traffic, but I'm excited by the possibilities of what could happen in that area. We've done a fantastic job, you as councillors and the community have done a fantastic job with Churchill Road. We're doing better in Prospect Road. I think we owe it to the community further, catering for that crossroad that's happening, Main North Road. We can tap into that, and we can tap in. I mean, I just brought along 3 years ago, we had a seminar. I'm sure we can go back to the formulation, the cultural policy aspect of the Prospect. We've missed the boat of it. I think they've stolen our thunder. Other councils like Marion or Port Pirie adopted what we first started off. I think we ought to get back to the creative community. Why not tap into what Brian Oldman did the other day? He got this beautiful opal mine, beautiful stone, sum up quickly. He was able to get the federal government's National Cultural Grant to pay for that particular opal. In summing up, yes, I think location is most important. And I appeal to councillors to take into mind the spreading of the wealth. Here's an opportunity once in a lifetime to do something magnificent for Prospect. It's not going to happen in my lifetime again. You're going to be spending millions, I know, but the barn is our heritage. It can be done. It's costly, and I've looked at other sites where it has been, they've been regenerated, refurbished, kept the shelves, the outside, but done things inside.
Thank you.
That's my piece.
It's pretty generous there. We've got a big debate tonight. I'm going to really try and stick to 5 minutes today. Let's just say about 5 minutes. But hang on, there might be some questions from councillors. Are there any questions to the deputy tonight. That being the case, thank you very much, Mr. Condis, for your presentation tonight. Really well. I'll resume your seat in the gallery.
Thank you. I'll take a glass of water if I may. Glasses. I'm sure I'll probably need a brandy after that.
Very well. I'll resume the agenda. Motions on notice, we have nil. Questions with notice, nil. Questions without notice, do we have any questions without notice tonight? All right, it was Councillor Stan Richard with glasses. That's excellent.
Scared you.
Don't keep my eyes open. Under the protocol, we will pass these reports on block unless they are withdrawn for debate. So does anybody wish to withdraw item 13.1, the Audit Committee meeting minutes, Monday the 19th of December? Right. Item 13.2, the Audit Committee meeting minutes, Thursday the 12th of January. Does anybody wish to withdraw that one? No. The information report at 14.1, I will withdraw as is customary. So get your questions ready. Item 15.1, the Community Hub Library Innovation Centre, the quick site option selection. Does anybody wish to withdraw that? Yeah.
Oh.
The 19.1, I saw a few hands, but I'll sort of first. 19.1, the Audit Committee meeting dates 2017 and 2018. Someone want to withdraw this, but no, all right. Okay. Carry on then with that team. The 19.2, the Conference Opportunities, Elected Member Training and Development. Anybody wish to withdraw that report? It has to be
withdrawn. Yes.
Sorry, I missed that one in my reading through. 19.3, distribution of council and workshop agenda papers. Does anybody wish to withdraw that one? Councillor Evans.
I didn't even get to read that.
19.4, the New Delegations Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act 2016. Does anybody wish to withdraw that one? All right, looks like you're in the gun, CEO. Every delegation's to you. 19.5, Community Land Management Plan and Community Consultations. Anybody wish to withdraw that? Councillor at the back. 19.6, storm damage from December 2016. Does anybody wish to withdraw that? Someone therefore move on block items 13.1, 13.2, 19.1 and 19.4. By Councillor Lee. There's no debating. Items moved on block to the seconder. Councillor Harris. All those in favour? Against, they're all carried. Thank you. So we move therefore to item 14.1 and the information report on page 13. I think Councillor... So with that, so I just see Councillor back and nod, and I'll start. So if anyone has any questions about the report, if not, I'll seek a mover and a second. Anybody have any questions about any of the? Just noting, it is the new format following the new strategic plan, so it's a different format to what we had in the previous report. Any questions, Councillor David?
This is about the information report.
Yes.
It was just regarding attachment 4, page 17. Comfortable in my seat there. Attachment 4, page 17. I was actually just inquiring about unique visits to the digital hub. It talks about visitation, but I'm cognizant of the fact that a lot of the visits are repeat visits. And I was just wondering if that information can be sought.
So is it on the attachment 4?
That's what I wrote down.
Yep, okay. Whereabouts on that is it? On the page, sorry? Okay.
It was just clarification of information, so more just, obviously we do have a digital strategy, and I want to make sure that our precious resources are used best. So maybe if we're seeking unique visitors, that could be a KPI that's included.
Okay, so correctly, that question.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, look, I'd have to actually check how we record those visits, whether it's the door counter or whether it's the training itself. And I'll have to get back to you in terms of whether we can extrapolate that down to unique visitations. And if we can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor? Are there any other questions for the material in the information report? Okay. Deputy Mayor, I'm happy to move it. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to it?
I do. I don't have a question. I have more of a comment. It would be remiss of me not to talk about outcome 1.2.3, which refers to, under no surprise for most people, cloth nappies. Now I just wanted to point out that 5 families, since this initiative has been running in the City of Prospect, 5 families have taken up the opportunity to trial cloth nappies, which is fantastic. It's been a long, long time coming, so I think it's fantastic that they've done that. It'd be interesting to know in time how many people actually take it up as a permanent arrangement as well. I had 2 other comments I want to make. Outcome 3.3.2, talking about workers within the City of Prospect on page 27. 200 businesses are now on the online network Prospect list. I think that's fantastic and worth mentioning. And across the page on page 28, outcome 3.4.2 is our Smart 21 Community 2017 award, which I think is probably the first time it's maybe formally in our papers, so worth mentioning that as well. So on that basis, happy to move it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harris, do you wish to speak to it?
No, excepting particularly I endorse the nappies because we've used them all our life, not me as an individual. Tin lids have used them and always been grateful.
I thought you might be the permanent take-up that the mover mentioned. Thank you. Any further debate on this item? Councillor Evans.
Yeah, well, just quickly make a point about the new reports. So the previous reports did receive some feedback around, I guess, the length and understanding, and it's more just a congratulations on the point of being able to condense everything Council's done into a mere 19 pages. So fairly easy to read, fairly well summarised, fairly, I think, efficient to get a grasp of, and a good, I guess, attempt at the new format. So just a point that it was an easy to read report, and well done to those involved.
Staff always like compliments. Always. Any further debate? If not, Deputy Mayor Group, you see you need to sum up. Further debate, all those in favour? Against, it's carried. The next item was the Community Hub Library Innovation Centre, the CLIP, site and option selection on pages, recommendations on pages 33 and 34, quite a lengthy report. Deputy Mayor Group, just a brief reason why you withdrew it and do you want to move it as the withdrawal?
I withdrew it because I would like to move it. I'd like to move it in its current form. So it is my pleasure to move this motion tonight. I know that this has been a culmination of a lot of conversation within Council, and of course by moving the motion I'll also be supporting it with my vote. No doubt this will be the most important decision that we make as a Council, and probably the most important decision made by Council in this space for some time. It's a generational decision, and the decision I've come to has been done so with consideration of all the facts that we've got ahead of us. I will on the onset state that I'm supportive of option 6A for the site of the new Community Hub Library and Innovation Centre. And indeed it wasn't actually my initial first thought in terms of location. Where I wanted to go was Prospect Oval, and we talked about that as a group of elected members, and we did a fairly detailed analysis, and it wasn't to be. And so that takes us to the decision we have tonight, which is Prospect Road or Main North Road. Over the past few weeks, everyone I talked to at Prospect, I asked a question, which probably a lot of people have. Pretty simple question: where do you think the library should be and why? Almost exclusively the answer to the second part of that question was near where I live. And answering that question using where you live as a frame of reference makes lots of sense. I get it. I think it makes a lot of sense. In fact, a lot of my close friends and my family said exactly that. But as an elected member, I don't see my role as making this decision on the basis of just one factor. I have to come to a decision using what I've called my frame of reference in order to inform how I'm going to vote for this, and that's what I've done. And I want to take you through very briefly what those issues were. The first for me was public value. The facility, like what we're talking about, is more than a library, and that's why we had the Library Plus name very early on. But it's really important that we have public value in what we do, and I think the library on Prospect Road will do that. It will only work if people come to it and engage with it and use it. And I believe the best public value we can have can be realised through being located here on Prospect Road. It supports our strategic plan, which we've all signed up for, a 5% increase in people using the library, investment, employment and development across our city, and diverse development on main road corridors. And the SGS report, one of quite a few that we've looked at, predicts that Prospect Road will attract more people to TIC than Main North Road will. So that was also factored into my consideration. And that takes me to my next frame of reference, which was serviceability. As a resident, if you want to deal with council staff, you come to the Civic Centre, only during office hours and of course never on a weekend. If you want a library or gallery service, you go to Thomas Street, sometimes after hours, never on a Monday and not before 10:15. at 9 a.m. Saturday morning is quite okay. And if you want a depot service, well, you come back here, even though the depot is not here. So whatever we do, whatever decision we make tonight, I think we need to make sure our services are co-located. It makes sense financially, it makes sense from a customer service point of view, and also makes sense from an ecological point of view. I think we'd be doing the community a disservice if we do nothing more than spend $5 million and have what we have now just in a different location and not co-locating our services. Servicing our residents from the one spot also makes a lot of sense when we consider our relative size, under 8 square kilometres and about 3 kilometres both north to south to east to west. I don't think we're big enough to deliver council services from multiple locations in such a small area. So imagine a library where you can come late at night, deal with council, pay your parking fine, your dog rates, your dog registration, your council rates, and then you can go out for dinner, go shopping, do what you want. And with a click in the right location, we can do that. It's not just a single destination, but it's a multiple destination. And that leads me to my next point of reference, which is the big topic, location. It's important, and for some people, it's a very motive, because nobody likes to feel that they're losing something when there's change. The new facilities located on Maynooth Road, families who have enjoyed a brief walk to a library will continue to receive a similar benefit, while those living on Churchill Road will continue to travel further to reach the flick. Conversely, if it's on Prospect Road, those living on Churchill Road won't have far to go, and someone who lives near the current library will have further to walk. I won't try and distort this because it is a matter of fact, and there's some diagrams in our papers, the centre point of Prospect and the residential densities diagrams on page 37 and 39 are really important to that debate on location. I'll move on very quickly to my other point of reference, which is a financial one. Local government, particularly Prospect, we rely very heavily on ratepayers. The decision tonight is about debt in the immediate term and the longer term. The BRM Holdings report considers the net cost of the options as well as the net present value of the 20 years, and as a matter of fact, option 6A is the cheapest, and in my mind provides best serviceability. We also realise a saving of some $170,000, not a big figure, but at high impact, and what that can do is double our park and gardens budget, add 15% to our road replacement budget, or a 300% increase to our footpath maintenance budget. And I think they're all positives, and I think most people want us to do that. I will sum up, and what I'm saying summing up is finally is the professional advice that we've got from a range of consultants has been really important, and they have all factored in Prospect Road as the preferred site. So I'll be voting for this in favour of the motion. I do it without fear or favour, and what I think provides the best return for us and our city. And I know that not everyone will have the same view as me, and I think it's okay, but I know that we all come to our own decisions, and we do it on the basis of what we think. I commend the motion to you.
Yeah, we'll have a seconder. Councillor Larwood, if you should speak to it.
Yes, I will. Thanks to the Deputy Mayor for giving this and summing up his position very well. In fact, it reflects a lot of what I am going to say, so I probably won't just repeat it all, although it might sound like I am, but I'll try to mix it up so it sounds a bit different.
4.7 minutes left.
The easiest thing would be to say the consultant's report is concise, robust. They've got a national reputation for doing this sort of work. They've investigated every angle that is possible, the most obvious ones and the least obvious ones. They've applied the same measurements across all the different options that were reviewed, and they came up with some solid conclusions, which put 6A at the top of the heap from my perspective. Combined with that, also the team here at Council has done a large amount of work to work with the consultants, but also to do their own due diligence and their own investigations on behalf of us as much as anything, because we've asked them to do that work. And they've also come back with a lot of valuable information, which also supports and is very much in line with the consultants' report. I think one of the best parts of the report I saw was the diagrammatic representation that Councillor Grigg referred to, being where the central point of Prospect is and what that means for the two locations and where each location would benefit most people, most students, those kind of things like that. I'm sure everyone's read the report, and I think that was a really useful piece of information. So it'd be easy just to say, because the consultants said, therefore I agree with the consultants. I do agree with the consultants, but also I just wanted to, and I'm going to sound like my dad here, take people on a bit of a journey. So how did I form my view? I probably started to form my view overall of Prospect and all the various services we have and all the things that are good about our city from when I moved here in 1976. So I've been living here for pretty much, apart from about 3 or 4 years, for 40 years. So I think I've got a pretty good picture on Prospect, its landscape, how far it is to go to places, what the general feel of the location is. So that's the first part. The second part was taking place in the tour to Melbourne, where we went to 4 different library models. And we saw ones which were regenerated old buildings. We saw ones which were beautiful greenfield sites. So I think it's worth mentioning that the first one we saw was a beautiful building which encompassed a lot of the things that we're talking about, and the council, I think it was Melton, put it in that location because it wanted to seed redevelopment of an area which was quite run down. It sounds like that hasn't actually worked, and so the council's had to go back to its ratepayers and ask for a lot more money to build more services around it and continue to invest in that area to try to get it to do what they wanted it to do. So that was an interesting example to come across. So then, as a group, we all put forward a whole bunch of different locations that we thought were worthy of consideration. And alongside Councillor Green, I had a vision one day when I was sitting in the grandstand watching the Roosters lose again, unfortunately, and I looked across to the eastern side of the Oval and I thought, wouldn't that be an awesome place for a new library or community centre? We've already got something there. We've got the start of something. We've got a nexus that we can build on. We've got the amazing work we've done with the playground, Memorial Gardens, a bit of work we've done on Prospect Oval. So that was my original pitch, was to put it there. So I'm definitely not it's got to be in my water, it's got to be on this road sort of person. It was much more about what's the best location. Unfortunately, that location didn't work out, and so we then continued to narrow down all the different sites and eliminate the ones which weren't looking like they were meeting the criteria, and had lots of discussions with friends and people I know who live around the area about it as well to help inform myself. So I then had a look at our strategic plan, and for me it's quite clear the 3 main streets running north-south in Prospect, Churchill Road, one on the left, Main North Road and Prospect Road have each got their own purpose and their own almost personality. Churchill Road is where we're building a new geographic location for lots of people who want to live in inner city, high density housing. Prospect Road is clearly the village heart. It's the community centre of the city of Prospect. And Main North Road, as per our Main North Road master plan, is a corporate green boulevard. So that's a corporate green boulevard. It's not a corporate plus community library centre boulevard. So we've clearly defined what we want to do with that, and we've started doing a lot of work in planning on how to turn that into something which is going to be something pretty useful in the future. The reports that came through threw up some interesting points, such as 64% of visitors to the current library already go across Main North Road. So to me, that's a fairly telling factor of the fact that people aren't too scared to cross Main North Road. They can get across there and go and visit something if they want to.
You can sum up this council, that's it, 5 minutes.
Okay. So in summary, I will also be supporting and voting for 6A.
That was a quick summary. That was the end of your 5 minutes. So, Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I have a question on process, Mr Mayor. I'm wondering when you're going to allow us to suspend the meeting orders and to be able to discuss this more fully and properly with the constraints only of 5 minutes.
It's a really good question. I've given this some consideration. My view as the chair, and you can seek the lead of the meeting to do something different. My view as the chair is we've had 2 years to discuss this progressively, including a workshop very recently. It is a point at which we have, I think, a fair degree of information. Some may say there's never enough, but we have a lot. We've advertised the public, we've published the report. In my view, and it is my determination from the chair, I'm allowing debate to proceed. I won't be suspending meeting procedures unless somebody moves that way and gets support of the floor to do so. The risk of suspending meeting procedures is that we have a debate when we're not having the debate, and we come back in and we have the debate all over again. There don't appear to be any issues that are unresolved that aren't in the report, so I've determined we'll just go into debate as we normally do on an item. So,
following up, well, I have issues with the motion actually, because at what stage, you only have 3 amendments, my understanding is, 2 amendments. We weren't given an option A or an option B from the staff report. So it pretty well much focuses everything on this particular location
Thank you, Councillor. I want to be really careful here that
Explanation.
we don't need to debate outside
Yes.
of the 5 minutes.
Yes.
Be fair on everybody.
Yes.
We've known for some time that this will be coming to a decision. We've known for some time that the CEO was asked by us to put one option to us, not a range of options. That's what's before us tonight. That's my ruling from the chair, and I'm doing my best to work through it, as we do any other item of business, unless there are issues which are not well understood. In my view, we've had a long time to consider these matters, so I have decided that we have the information we need. So I'm now going to open up. We've had a movement and a seconder to any other debate. So if you wish to be the next person to debate, I'm happy.
Well, I'd like to test the waters and ask that you suspend the meeting procedures.
For how long, Councillor?
For 30 minutes.
I seek leave of the meeting to suspend meeting procedures using this clock here until 8 p.m. All those in favour of suspending meeting procedures? All those against?
Well, 4.
We need 2/3 majority to suspend meeting procedures. We don't have it. So I'm afraid meeting procedures will not be suspended.
I think you missed a vote here.
But it's 4-4, Councillor.
That's
It's
50.
There's a lot more than 4. I'm sorry to be basically about the maths. If it was the event of a tie, I've already stated my position pretty clearly. So we've been 5-4. But to do that, we need 2/3, and we don't have it. When you normally suspend, you get unanimous support for suspension. So I apologise if that's embarrassing somebody. But now carry on. We've had a mover and a seconder. Is there any further debate on this item? Councillor Debate.
So I'd like to foreshadow a motion. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to foreshadow a motion that if this is voted down, that the recommendation be changed. The Council adopts option 2A from the SGS Economics and Planning Report, including the development of the City of Prospects New Community Hub and Vibrant Innovation Centre at the main North Road site, a mixed-use facility with a development partner, and relocation of the depot operations. So I'd like to foreshadow a motion, so it should have fall. I just want clarity if I can still speak to this motion.
Just the perfect clarity, under the Act we are required to address the item before us, and you've foreshadowed an alternate motion, so best that you not address that until that is moved. If that's moved, best to address this one.
Yep,
it's a mere technicality.
Yep. First time I've done it.
I understand that. Yep. And just for the members' benefit, should this item not be accepted, I have conferred with the staff. The foreshadowed motion I will take as an alternate to this motion because it responds to exactly the same information and the same report that you all have. So I won't force it to general business or anything else. We can deal with it tonight if we need to. Carry on, Councillor.
Okay. So firstly, a heartfelt thank you to everyone that's turned out today. And for some, it may be the first council meeting that you've been to, so thanks very much for coming. I've read all your emails and I've attempted to respond to most of you, and you've all made some really wonderful points. All the councillors are here today because we want the same outcome for our residents. We want a great place to live with excellent amenity and services at a reasonable cost to the ratepayer. Unfortunately, but understandably, all the councillors sometimes come from a different perspective on that. I'm just going to cut to the chase now. We were elected as trusted custodians of your city to maintain your assets, respond to your needs and plan for your city's future. So I'm going to use an analogy here. In effect, you've given us the keys to your house to look after while you go on.
Sorry, Councillor, to remind you that our rules say you have to address the chair, be it me or someone else.
Okay, you're going to get it. All right, so we've given the keys to your house to look after your place while you're on holiday. You've told us to feed the dog and water the plants, and in our spare time perhaps we can paint the fence, right? What this proposal before us suggests is that we're knocking a hole through your lounge room wall, we're building a second story, and we're selling off your backyard. So look, I'm really concerned, and none of the councillors before have actually addressed the fact that we're actually selling off your assets to pay for a facility that you don't need. What the residents need is a library and a community centre. And guess what? We currently have a community centre on Prospect Road. In fact, we've got 3 community centres on Prospect Road. We've got the Irish Heart Room, the Town Hall and the Community Hall. Our problem is underutilisation and making unnecessary barriers to activation. We need to improve the marketing and have adequate resourcing to use the facilities that we already have. $12 million of a shiny new building is not what we need. So I agree with the other councillors. I think there's land around the Civic Centre that is underutilised, and I will work with you if you support the foreshadowed motion to activate this space. But I don't think a $12 million building is going to do that. So I just want you to bring me back to the farmers market. We brought the farmers market here, it didn't work. There's been lots of things we've been bringing here that aren't working. So I just want you to be cognizant of the fact that I did read through the reports, and this magic figure of an extra 25,000 people that are supposedly going to visit Prospect Road as opposed to Main North Road, it's what they call it, based on desktop research. Okay, so you've got to remember these reports that we've got, they're a little bit rubbery in some areas. And this is also an email that I received on the 17th of the 1st, so not very long ago, that was a valuation clarification. So this email, I better not drop it, is worth $1.28 million. This was the variation in the report that we were given by the so-called experts. So you can understand my frustration, and I'm trying not to get too emotional. But again, I'm trying to appeal to the councillors and the chair. What we have is an activation issue. We don't need a shiny new $12 million building, and we don't need to sell our residents' assets. So I guess at this point, I just want to appeal to councillors to not sell the tram barn and make it the facility it deserves to be. The Thomas Street Centre has been proven in all our information reports to be very well loved, and it brings people together. And I think we can do that there, and I think what this deserves is it's an entertainment precinct. I'm not against selling the Civic Centre when it's end of life. So please take my remarks and please choose. I'll speak to this motion, but yeah, I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you. Bang on 5 minutes. Thank you for that. Any further debate? Councillor Stanton.
I'll have a go. When the staff gave the library project a working title, they called it CLICK, and I wouldn't want to keep that name forever, but in some ways it's fantastic. The first word of this acronym stands for community, and it's only fitting as the community will be paying for it, they'll be the ones using it, and they're the ones we want to get excited by it. We want them to love this new facility in the same way that they love Thomas Street Centre. And so far, the community has been involved in all aspects of the project except location. And we as councillors were told that this is because the location decision would be at the end of a very extensive workshop process that the general community weren't privy to. So they were kept out of that decision. Well, guess what? The extensive process produced no clear winner. We were told that wherever we put it, if we put it here, if we put it at John Street, it will be fantastic. There wasn't a clear winner. It was, right, you need to now make your decision. And we do, however, have a recommendation, the one we have in front of us now. And as soon as that recommendation was published, we immediately started getting emails from residents who really wanted to make their voice heard regarding the location. There was individuals, resident groups, history groups, mum, dad, elderly, all expressing passionately about where they wanted their new community facility. They wanted to play an active part in the conversation. More importantly, they wanted to play a part in the decision. And an overwhelming majority of the stuff that we've received since the recommendation went up has been for the tram barn. Now,
I expect at this point the supporters of the Civic Centre would, rally the troops and all get together and come forth with their equally passionate defence of the proposal. Do you know what? That really didn't happen. There were dribbles of emails, probably a half a dozen, some laced with misinformation about the centrality of Prospect Road, and some plain nasty, with one person even saying the current location of the John Road site were only convenient to the fringe dwellers on that side of the council area. I was absolutely mortified, the utter disdain that some residents have for those who live on the east of Main North Road. Why should us fringe dwellers have anything nice? But even aside from the isolated vitriol, there were nowhere near the same level of passion and positive support for the Civic Centre as there was for the tram barn. Those advocating the Civic Centre spoke of ease of location to themselves, and those in favour of the tram barn seem to be talking about retaining our heritage and future placemaking. And I just didn't hear that from people who wanted it at the Civic Centre. Remembering that wherever it's located, these people on the west will be a full main road closer to those than they were before. They win no matter what the decision. I think they seem to forget that. I also note that before today's email flurry, I had not heard a single word from the wider community of any support for redeveloping the Civic Centre site. Not one email, not one phone call, not a single text. No one stopped me in the street to lobby me towards the Civic Centre. Until today, there was next to no visible community appetite for a library here at the Civic Centre site. And if there is support, there's certainly no passion. In contrast, from the very beginning of this process 18 months ago, residents have been talking to me passionately and positively about locating the library and a community centre at the tram barn. And look at Jack Condis. His wonderful deputation there before was full of passion and excitement. I see none of that for here. We came into this meeting tonight with a very real possibility of a hung vote, with the deciding vote then going to the Mayor. And I believe that is the true definition of all things being equal. All the information we've had has all come out to all things being equal. It's a very level playing field. So all things being equal, it's now appropriate that we listen to the voice of the community. We should listen to the overwhelming, clear, definitive and passionate voice of the community and give them the deciding vote and not put it onto our Mayor. I want our community not to just be okay with our decision. I want them to be passionate about it, to embrace it, to love it, just like they do the Thomas Street Centre. All things being equal, we can go into this project with passionate support from our community, or we can go into it with passionate opposition. The choice is ours. We just need to listen to the voice of people. In the end, Prospect Road doesn't need a library. It needs a bloody pub. And I'm happy to be part of that conversation as a later date. For now, I add my voice to the voice of the people in saying I do not support this proposal, but I do support the tram barn. Thank you.
Good speech. I want a placard about a pub.
Hey!
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, thank you to the other elected members, the gallery and all who have been a part of this process. It's been a 2-year process and on Audit Committee the other week, one of the remarks that we heard was the level of information, the level of detail, the level of discussion, the level of participation that was had around this decision that is a very important once-in-a-generation decision, and I absolutely agree with Mr Condis in that regard. Let's bring it back to what we're actually looking at here, and that is the Thomas Street Centre, a much-loved facility, can no longer be our library. So the question is, what do we do? Do we do anything? Why would we contemplate a project? Why would we contemplate even relocating the library? And it's all to do with community benefit. And that might sound fairly obvious, but it's going to become increasingly apparent as I talk through my thought process and how I formed a view on coming to a decision that we do have community benefit absolutely centre and absolutely at the heart of the decision that we come to. There should be no winners and losers coming out of this decision as well, and I know either side will be aggrieved no matter which way it goes, but importantly, this is a decision for our community. It's an intergenerational decision for our community. As an accountant, you know, it's a 40-year life building proposition that we're talking about. It is a big, detailed event, and it's one that we need to absolutely respect and understand the significance of. We want our library to grow in participation. We want it to grow by 5%. That's the mission we've given to the staff, and that's the goal we've set for ourselves. We want a highly loved, highly used facility. We want what we've currently got at the Thomas Street Centre, and we want it to be reflective of purpose. We want it to come of age. One of the study tours we went on saw the library at the Docklands, a brand new facility that had no computers in it, and it's quite interesting because if you were contemplating building a library 10, 15 years ago, you'd put it full of computers because that's what the community needed. Now we've all got devices, so the community don't need as many computers supplied by councils. Instead, what they need is they need high-speed access to internet, and they need study facilities, and they need access to community engagement platforms, things that are all very important that need to be considered. What will this library look like? What will the future of our community look like in 40 years' time? And to have vision for the next 40 years when we come to what is a very important decision. Across the two sites, what we're being asked to consider here is not the composition of this building, and that's important. We're not deciding a library, we're not deciding a civic centre, we're not deciding its look and feel, we're not deciding its complete characteristics, we're not deciding a lot of things, and that's what's to come. This is a decision, but it's not the decision. There are many more decisions. There's many more opportunities for community consultation, encouraged community consultation that will see whatever facility be realised to its full potential, and that is all still ahead of us. The reference group's been established now, comprising various stakeholders of our community, a broader range of people, and there's a whole lot more to happen after this vote. So that's an important point to make as well, is that this isn't the end of the discussion, it's the start of the discussion, and regardless which location and which service mix is chosen, there is a lot more still to come. So what are we deciding on? There's location, and that's the emotive issue that's before us, but there's also a few other things, intergenerational benefit things that I see as being very important to how we shape the future of our council. Depot operations, it's one of those things we only know about depot operations when they don't function very well. So the question is, how do we best structure our affairs to service our assets, to continue to grow and provide great services in open space and in council facilities for our residents? There are other ways than to locate a depot on site, and through the discussions that we're starting and collaborating with other councils, resource sharing options are a real live option for depot operations moving forward, resource sharing options, and they're things that I'm very eager to consider. So of the 9 options that are before us now, we've gone from 4 sites, we considered a 5th, we're now down to 2, and across these 2 we've got 9 options that we consider, and the purpose of tonight is to work out the configuration of the library, whether we're contemplating mixed use and ultimately location as well. And so 9 options before us. Depot operations to that regard, I think with the 40-year hindsight, 40-year foresight, the ability for us to structure depot operations in collaboration with other councils for the cost of what is roughly depreciation on our current assets does make a lot of sense. When we're talking about co-locating facilities as well, the economists call that productive synergy, and that's a really interesting point, and it's one that I'm absolutely interested in exploring over the next 40 years again. And it's not with the view to necessarily efficiency gains. That is an important part of it, but it's much more than that. It's all about as well the opportunities that we have to provide better services to our residents, longer opening hours, different types of engagement opportunities. Just to touch on location, which is the biggest component of it, I will be supporting the motion after much consideration and after much thought, and that's based purely on the facts that are before us. That's based on the detailed analysis that's happened. Similarly to Councillor Group, when I ask residents in our community where the library should be located, they tell me somewhere near them, by and large. So it's important that we do have longer term planning around what that could mean. The residents I consulted directly in my ward say 50% wanted it on Prospect Road, 59% compared to 18% on Maynooth Road. So if this was a popular vote, that's the way I would vote. But clearly it's not. It's far more than that. It's far deeper than that. And that's not the reason at all that I've come to my decision. It's based on the opportunities that exist on Prospect Road to realise the full potential of a collaborative one-stop shop for council services that present a huge amount of opportunities over the next 40 years of the life cycle of this project. So with that, I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Summing up, finger works. Really well. Thank you. Any further debate on the item?
You go. Do you want to go first or not?
I'll go now.
Okay.
Any further bits?
Councillor Barnett.
Any further bits? Right, okay. I'll just go through what we've got their vote on. Yes, I'm voting for a City of Prospect's new community hub, library and innovation centre, but I don't believe at 128 Prospect Road. I'll go into my reasons for that later. Yes, I'll vote for co-location of civic facilities and council administration. I'll vote for a mixed-use facility with a development partner. I'll vote for relocation of the depot functions. I will not vote for the sale of North Road site. I will not vote for the sale of any of our assets. I will not vote for the sale of the our only state heritage listed former tram barn. I will not vote for us selling off the farm just for in a sense, a quick way to achieve a new facility. Once it's gone, you do not get it back. If you want it back later on, in 50 years, the shelf life of these buildings are approximately now 40 years. If you want to try and get something back then, it will cost you heaps and heaps and heaps more. So I don't believe we're doing any of our residents, any of our future residents, we're in fact doing them a disservice by selling any of our facilities. It is quite well within our capacity as council with borrowings and all the other things that you measure them by to not have to do that. Now, I believe that there are some inequities in attitude to the two heritage items on the two proposed sites. The Prospect Town Hall, a local history of heritage item, has been quarantined from the Prospect Road Civic Centre site and any possible sale. However, the former tram barn with its state heritage listing seems to have no such quarantine, as included in a possible sale as a council asset if the Prospect Road site gets up with that motion there before us. And so with what protection? There's really nothing in the recommendation that states that this or that there will be a land management agreement to protect it. I strongly feel the former tram barn's possible role has been overlooked in all the reports. Collier's International Assessment in the 24th January agenda makes no mention of the tram barn at state heritage status in respect of the main North Road site. It seems to be the invisible thing, and yet it's one of our most important heritage assets in this city. And not particularly picking on the Mayor, but it's just because he happened to mention it in his email reply to residents on the matter, which was quite a good response from the Mayor. Infers that the former tram barn is beyond adaptive use as a building. However, Council has not had any independent expert consultants report on the adaptive reuses of the former tram barn around the world, and I've visited many of these places in far more derelict state than that, and they've been restored to be wonderful buildings. The main arguments for Prospect Road site appear to be one, it will add to vibrancy of Prospect Road village heart. Well, I suggest that any co-located model will add vibrancy wherever it is, and Lord knows the main North Road damn well needs vibrancy, that's for sure. And the other one is about making the saving of $163,701 annually by co-locating all staff at the Prospect Road site. Well, hello, if you locate them all at the main North Road site, you still make a saving. And about attracting the the highest level of visitation. So I'll just get back to that later because it's over the page. This co-location saving argument, or as a basis, all right, so blah, blah, blah. So I have car parking and traffic concerns at the Prospect Road site. This has been one of the most frequently mentioned items from residents. Where are our traffic impact statements for both sites, even as concept plans? We haven't had them. I'm not convinced that the Prospect Road site can handle its current car parking and traffic, let alone an increase in this with an estimated 120,000 visitations on top of the new cinema not far away. The most important criteria for choosing a location made at 40% was community benefit. Community development is not delivered by a facility if the community cannot easily access it, especially those who will be using the car, so we're led to believe by being past the 800-metre access rule. Community benefit, the most important criterion, is not delivered by furthering the perceived and real concern about the east-west divide of Main North Road. Surely being a vibrant community includes a sense of cohesion and inclusion. Many people living in the east will be further alienated by the centralisation of services. But there's been said about the forgotten part of the city of
Councillor, 5 minutes to subscribe.
Right. So again, it's about parking, it's about the co-location. Wherever it happens, it will add to vibrancy, it will add to savings. And I hate to think what will happen if Prospect Terrific, we can't have it for 2 years, that this is a construction site. What will happen to the Prospect Road businesses
Trying to be consistent.
with this as a construction site? Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any further speakers? Councillor Lee.
Okay, we've spent at least 2 years travelling, listening, exploring, and becoming informed. I feel overwhelmed with information, but comfortable in my final decision. A decision that can best be summed up by quoting from an email from a resident, and I hope she doesn't mind me acknowledging her, Amanda Berry. I'm looking at it from a long-term strategic perspective. solely. So I'll start with the strategic perspective. Middle of last year, I attended an international conference about quality urban design. And the theme that kept coming up time and time again is you get quality urban design when you bring the services to the people and don't expect the people to go to the services. Well, basically what that means is that we already have the people here. Prospect Road is a destination with cafes, businesses, council services and a new cinema. It is where the footfall is, and our strategic plan targets are for increased footfall for the village heart and increased participation and utilisation of library services. We are looking for a stronger local economy and more places to go at night. Putting the library where the most users are and where the most growth is expected makes sense in this decision and in covering our strategic plan. We spoke about how we can showcase what we want for development on our main roads. Showcase opportunities are much better on Prospect Road. Development has already started and we need to demonstrate to the market future expectations. Now you could argue that we could do that on Main North Road, but our vision, our strategic plan states the vision for Main North Road is a corporate boulevard. We just don't have the capital required to build something spectacular enough to showcase to the market for a corporate boulevard. But if we sell the Main North Road site, we do it with caveats in place to ensure that the market knows exactly what our expectations are. As Councillor Bowman said at the last workshop, we need to get out of the way and let the private sector do it. And Main North Road is the perfect place for us to get out of the way. Just some facts about the current use of our library. 64% of current library users come from the west side of Main North Road. 64%. On a regular basis, more than half of our library users living in Prospect brave crossing Main North Road to get to our library and somehow manage to find their way back home again. Schools to the west of Main North Road walk their students up to the library, manage to cross the road and find their way back as well. Connectivity is not an issue. In fact, locating the click at Prospect Road means that 4 other schools will be within easy walking distance of the library. And that's not to say that Nailsworth will miss out. The library will still be easily accessible just a little further away. But what we do is we increase the use and the opportunity for students across Prospect to access our library by putting them on Prospect Road site. Here's another interesting fact. 36% of library users live outside Prospect. So if 64% of residents live to the west of Main North Road and just over a third live outside the council area, by my calculations, I'm not sure who we are inconveniencing if we put click on the site here at Prospect Road. That's more than 90% of people that don't live the east of Main North Road. So it makes sense to put it where, I apologise if you live on the eastern side of Main North Road, but I feel that we need to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people, and if we put the new site on Prospect Road, then that's what we should be doing.
1 minute.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Some of the emails received talked about safety for kids, older people, busy people. It's a 40k zone here on Prospect Road, single lanes, conveniently located with 4 pedestrian crossings along Prospect Road between Road Terrace and Regency Road. It is the safest place to put it. Main North Road, major thoroughfare, north-south, out of the state, very busy road. We've invested in the village with plenty of dividends. The investment was made with a long-term strategic plan in mind, a plan to grow our city and grow our economy. We've engaged a number of consultants that tell us that Prospect Road is the place that not only makes economic sense but has the greatest community benefit. Why would we ignore the advice of experts and think that we know better?
Sum up, please.
If this is about the tram barn will always be the tram barn. It is protected by state heritage. We have done nothing for the tram barn except park heavy machinery in it. I don't know if we're the best people to do things with. And it doesn't affect me personally where we build Click, but what we need to do is take everything we've explored and learned over the last 2 years into consideration. It's time to let go of that, just our hearts, and start looking at the bigger picture, which is the library on Prospect.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee.
All my life it's great when you get to a stage you've got to go and talk to a brick wall because everyone's already made their decision, and so it's you I'm directing it, so I won't be directing it anywhere else. And because I can almost guess, although I might change my mind halfway through my own speech. Very simple. For this side here, I've actually wrote things down, very unusual for myself. Safety, and I'm glad the last person brought it up, and various things about traffic, 40 kilometres and all that. The other library's been there since 1981. People have been going from all over the city. I don't actually accept those numbers. I'm not doubting you're telling porcupines because they're pretty much the same here too. But in reality, I'm sure more than 5 people walk past my house to go to the library. They might be lying to me. They might be going down to Kate Ellis's office, or they might be going to somewhere else. But more than 5 people walk past my house to go to the library. So my position for here is it's a great place. I'm glad to see this council, and particularly the previous council and that was here, that's done a heck of a lot of good to the place and improved it and done things. The picture theatre with fancy films are coming up, the various restaurants around the place and the various other things. So I think that's quite good. But when you look at money we've spent here, we've spent a lot of money on this section, a lot of money. And some people in the room here, and I quite openly say I'm not, but some people in the room here, it's to try and help the various self-employed owners and business people. I love them all, but my belief is I'm on council to look after the residents, not the business people. This particular building we're in, this will be, I think we're in this one, yeah. This will be the 3rd build since I've been around, you know, and I'm not that young, but I'm not that old either. So this will be the 3rd build. Middle one was a fire, so it had to be replaced. So I see a lot of things happening here. If people get this tram through, the other things that are happening, and actually even to quote the various things, the cinema that's happening and other sort of things here, I see it fairly comfortable. But the city, I look at the city as a whole, and by doing so, I look at the other side of the road as well. Parking will always be a problem here, and it's just a fact of life. We can build car parks, and I think it was even the mayor that commented at one stage that when we do something here, we'd have to go underground to put parks out to fit sort of people. Could be the same up the other end, but it could be what's already happened, because we're only talking about 375 metre shift from going where it is currently now, the library, gallery and all that, to the other side of the road. So it's not a big shift, and we've had cars middle here next to a school, currently next to a school, so you've had that interlock with cars and those sort of things. but the Saturday it's been there when we have gallery open. They come down my street and the other ones around. So I don't see that as a big sort of thing. I do have a very, very personal one that I don't support the sale of property, the last one. Once you've sold something, it's gone. It doesn't come back again, and it doesn't mean in my whole life that I wouldn't support selling, or it doesn't mean that I haven't made a mistake previously when we sold the property in Wilson Street. I regret that now, but still, council with me, I voted for it as well, that sold it. So I don't support selling it, although there might be the times that come. The library itself, the gallery, the library, the hub, the whole community centre and all that, I have no fear, whether it's wherever it is, that the staff we got sitting around this side and some of the contractors and various other people we use, the skills and ability are there to produce a building and a facility no matter where it goes. So my comments don't go anywhere near that sort of stuff. So I get to my last bit, which is the history. And I think one of the most important things for any people, if you move forward, you've got to know where you came from. I've been taking kids now over at Nailsworth Primary School on history walks for a long time, 20-something years. And to be able to have a tram barn, it's our history. And it's not just a tram barn. We can move and you come down 2 more streets to Alpha Road. We've actually still got the tram lines underneath the road. We've covered them up. One day it can be open. One day we can amalgamate and we can take that section off of Port Adelaide Enfield and then it comes in the centre. We can have the history that not only kids go and read books or in future look at various machines that show things, they can feel it, touch it and see what's there. I know we're not going to change it and I'm pretty sure where this is going to go. But my feeling is we've got an area there that should not be sold and nothing can look after history. That's how I'm going to finish. Nothing can look after history but the people themselves. And the people themselves is this council, all of us. And to put it in private hands, and it's always there for a profit. It doesn't mean they're going to destroy it, but they're there for a profit. This is the people's hands, this council, and this is where the tram barn should stay. This is where that area should stay, and that's where our library complex should go.
Thank you, Councillor. And now I take the opportunity to speak from the chair. It's obvious that it's going to be a tied vote. If my maths is right, I've got 10 fingers, I've worked it out. So
You needed 8. Careful when you get outside.
Thank you for your contribution so far and for the lobbying that I've received from the community. Not large numbers, but a lot of passion and a split between support for each side. I want to recognise and thank the member for Adelaide, Rachel Sanderson, not just for being here tonight, but for distributing an unbiased letter, encouraging locals to voice their views to us after they considered a range of matters. In response to that, the responses in favour of the Prospect Road site escalated significantly, which I found quite interesting. I also recognise it's difficult, perhaps unrealistic, for those on council or the staff to be across all the detail, or read the extensive analysis, or even the report tonight. It's quite. Almost all those who've got in touch with me have done so to express their opinion, perhaps because it's new where they live. Whereas we, as council, we're obligated to make sure we're as well informed as we can possibly be about the range of possible alternatives. For the record, I was encouraging council to establish a strong presence in the click at North Park or nearby as a key location many of us already visit. However, my suggestion was an early eviction, so not today. There's been a huge amount of effort put into informing our position tonight, and I thank the staff for the extensive report. Many of you would not know it, but I have agonised over this decision for several months. If you're not sure of that, then my wife has come, rarely as she does, to a council meeting. I think this is the second one in 14 years. Ask her and she'll confirm it. Both sites can host a click. All 3 preferred options can be accommodated within our long-term financial plan without an extraordinary rate increase. Both have a heritage component. Both are on main roads, both are roughly equidistant from the centre of the city, both offer consolidation and efficiency dividends over the longer term. However, some of the analysis suggests quite different outcomes, particularly the level of service each option provides to the communities that we seek to serve. Here there is a significant difference. The number of users forecast to visit the click and Prospect Road is 15 to 25,000 more per year than if it was located on Main North Road. 25,000 option 2A, 15,000 on 4A. All other things being relatively equal, I'm finding it difficult to argue against the site that the experts forecast will provide the highest level of service. Over the expected 40-year life of the building, that's between 600,000 and 1 million additional visits. You may ask, why would that be so? Well, a response from a local probably expresses it better than the consultant did, and I quote, "For myself, I would not go to the library on Main North Road, but I would definitely go to the library if it was on Prospect Road, while I might be out and about getting a coffee, going shopping, walking my dog, browsing at the markets, etc." End quote. Or another one talking about the location, quote, "The expected increase in residents to the precinct through the development of more and more apartments in the Prospect Road site is surely an obvious choice, and in brackets, and more accessible for new residents in apartments on Churchill Road, in brackets, our area of growth." I think they express those things pretty well. But Prospect Road is close to 2 schools, as has been pointed out, not just one, and they're on the same road as 4 schools. And you can park at the front of this site, as many people do, but of course you risk your life doing so on Main North Road. It also has direct street-to-street access to car parking. Most people wouldn't realise that that's not the case at Main North Road. In fact, you have the dog leg around the property, a residential property, and the tram bar. I have to say, I feel for those who desperately want a community hub in the east. So do I. I think we all do. But we could not identify a single site in our top 8 that would do that. Broadview Oval, in my view, should be developed into a community hub to the east, a genuine one. And we need to work out how we put a sustainable investment program together to develop that over time. Another area of concern is the desire to retain ownership and use of this particular site. On the surface, it sounds sensible, but this site is full of staff. The only way we can achieve the value out of this site is if we relocate the staff, which will cost money. It cost $4.5 million to build this 12 years ago. Relocating and buying land for that would cost the same or more now. So it's not realistic to think by keeping the site it's actually an asset. Another issue is development risk, about securing a development partner. I think that would be relatively straightforward here on this site, given recent sales at record levels on this site, and relatively more difficult on Main North Road, where we're struggling to see sales of any property on Main North Road, let alone with a council partner. Savings to option 6A are possible, and I give you my word they will be pursued. The Town Hall and Eliza Hart rooms can become meeting room options in the range of meeting rooms we need in the new clinic. This is a low cost and high savings, and not available at the Main North Road site. The reception out here is an iconic and immediately usable entry structure, linking the old and the new, and should be retained. This is not available at Main North Road, and I estimate it's worth about $500,000. Savings can also be obtained in minimising temporary relocation costs. We've relocated the offices before during the fire at minimal cost. All the infrastructure to do the same is still in place. I'm confident $300,000 can be saved on this upfront cost. If I just thought more expenditure, it takes some convincing, it would be to create additional commercial tenancies across the front for council to own and lease out over the next decades, providing valuable alternate income and relieving pressure on rates. It would also activate a dead zone we currently have between Chibo and Flashes. In closing, our public consultation in the early phases on all things library indicated a stronger preference to this site. Our internal discussions and elected member ratings consistently rated Prospect Road the highest of all options. The specialist consultant finds that the highest overall benefits of the community will be achieved by developing this site. The highest level of visitation and use is forecast to be at Prospect Road. The highest level of ongoing savings relative to capital outlay is forecast to be at this site. The independent consultant report, which cross-checks and validates all the work done to date, the final report confirms that Prospect Road provides the best return, the highest benefit and the most savings of all 3 options analysed. I love the tram barn too, but love is not enough. Thank you for the placards. Thank you. I love placards. Love is not enough to overwhelm all the analysis and expert advice that we've received. I commend the motion to you. I now request the Deputy Mayor if he wishes to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. I do. There's clearly a really significant feeling with this decision. As we mentioned earlier, I think every councillor who spoke tonight, which is everyone, and the Mayor, are all working towards what they think is the best outcome. Councillor Evans talked about it being a generational decision, a once-in-a-generation decision, and I think it is. And for that reason, that's why I maintain my position. I think there's greater public value at the Prospect Road site. Councillor Barwell talked about the personality of the roads of Churchill, Prospect and Maynorth Roads. They have different personalities and different purposes, and I think that was a really interesting point. And I think the library really suits the purpose here on Prospect Road. Providing services from one site makes a lot of sense. Councillor Barnett talked a bit about that in terms of co-locating services, which I presume means that option 2A isn't preferred by Councillor Barnett. But if we get to that point, she will speak on it, no doubt. But I think that co-location is really, really important. We can make savings, we do make savings, and those savings are material savings as well. The proposed location at Prospect Road also provides greater accessibility to a majority of residents across the area. And we talked before about the centre point of Prospect being pretty much in between the two locations, the two proposed locations. And what it does is weakens the argument that one site is better than the other if the argument is purely based on accessibility. It actually nullifies that argument. And I didn't get a chance to talk about this before, so I'll talk about it now. The residential densities diagram in our papers is quite directive in what it does. It shows another matter of fact that people live closer to the Prospect Road site than the Maynorth Road site. And Councillor Lee talked a little bit about this, greater accessibility for schools to get to this site as opposed to Maynorth Road. This site provides a cheaper build and fit out, provides recurrent savings and allows us to invest in other projects or accelerate our debt repayment. Councillor Bowman talked about a $12 million project to move to this site. Well, we need to look at the net present value amounts. We don't just look about what we spend, but we need to look at it in totality. And option 6A is the cheapest option for residents in the City of Prospect.
You're selling your assets?
And we have also received professional advice. We've also received professional advice that Prospect Road is better suited to our current needs. Councillor Standen talked about there being no clear winners. I respectfully disagree with that. I think there is a clear winner. And I think if you look at it objectively, you'll see what the clear winner is. And I just want to make another point. Councillor Standen talked about the emails, and I think we all got the same emails. I presume we all got the same emails. And I have to say the tone in most of them, whether people wanted Maynorth Road or Prospect, was that they wanted it because it was close to them. And I'm happy to show the emails of people near Maynorth Road who had that sentiment. And I think that's okay. I think that's perfectly okay. The other thing that Nigel spoke about that I wanted to mention briefly is around consultation in the one of the reports, the BRM Politics report, talked about consultation that took place at the library, and included a number of unprompted responses to a question that wasn't asked. And that question that wasn't asked is, where do you want the library? Only 40 people commented, it was unprompted. 15 people wanted the library at Maynorth Road, 20 wanted it on Prospect Road, 2 wanted it at the shopping centre, 2 didn't want it on Prospect Road, and 2 didn't want it on Maynorth Road. Now, statistically unreliable, I'm not suggesting we need to refer to those as any basis of making a decision, but what it shows is that people have views on both sides of the road. And however they come up with that decision, whatever their frame of reference is, people have different views. Lots has been said about the tram barn, and I'm not supportive of the demolition of the tram barn. I know that's come out in the last few days as well. It's never been on our agenda. I don't think anyone's ever talked about it. I just want to make it very clear that that's not the case. I'll argue probably at another time that council may not be the best developer of the tram barn. Councillor Lee is right. We park trucks in it at the moment. We've had it for 40 odd years. We've done nothing to it. This council administration, this council hasn't done anything. The previous council hasn't done anything. The one before hasn't done anything, and so on. That role, I think, should go to somebody who could apply the resources needed to make it as functional as possible, paying respect to its historical significance, and of course the requirements that apply to a property listed in the State Heritage Register. And Councillor Harris is absolutely spot on. It is our history. Nothing will ever change that. It's our history. Whether we're the best people to make sure that's a functional space, for me, is a question mark. But what we can do is to ensure that it continues as a much-loved community asset in some form. And we will do that. I want to, at this point, foreshadow that should this motion succeed and Prospect Road be selected for the location of the new click, that I will be calling for an urgent report on general business for staff to provide advice on options to exclude the tram barn from any future sale while maintaining our revenue budget. And I've prepared words for that later on.
1 minute left.
Which is great, because my concluding comments are that I really believe that the decision to put Click on Prospect Road will serve the community well. Not just now, not just in 2019 when we open it, but for a generation to come. And finally, it would be remiss of me not to mention the significant work that has gone into the report, and just to mirror some of what the Mayor said. This has been 2 years of work for council staff led by the CEO and the previous CEO. I think it's worth just acknowledging their work that they've done on this report. I do commend the motion to the council.
Thank you. 5 minutes, spot on. Councillors and members of the gallery, for your interest, that concludes the debate. There's no further debate. We'll now take the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. All those against the motion?
Oh, that's a surprise.
Division.
Not yet.
I haven't finished yet. Thank you for jumping the gun, but we don't have a result yet. As I've indicated from the chair in my speech, I'll be voting in favour of the motion. As a wise mayor once spoke to me and said, Mesh would really default to the staff recommendation, and that's what I'm doing, and I think that's the right answer. That means the motion is carried. I recognise there's been a call for a division. All those against the motion, if you could please stand and your names recorded. The members of the gallery aren't familiar with council practice. That means a previous vote is set aside, and this is now a new vote. Whilst the staff are recording the item, you may or may not be interested to know that sometimes the vote has changed as a result of the division being called. In this instance, you can see that it's not changed. It's my view.
Point of order. The
Point of order.
Or other way around.
The other way around. I'm not sure the councillors would like it recorded that way. Thank you. That is as I recorded it, and and I will cast my vote in the affirmative again. So the second time declare that the motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen of the gallery, that concludes debate on that item tonight. Deputy Mayor has foreshadowed a motion in general business which will occur right at the end of all the reports that we have before us, because we've publicised those reports. It's only right they be heard first. If you wish to stay and listen to that debate, you're welcome to do so, but note that Deputy Mayor's foreshadowing is going to ask for a report. A report means we cannot make a decision. We've not advertised a decision. So if you want to listen to us argue whether we have a report or not about a future decision, you're more than welcome to stay. If, however, that concludes your interest tonight, we won't feel aggrieved if you choose to leave at this point and go home. So thank you so much for your interest, and I genuinely thank you for placing it. Without that, it's a bit of interest.
Thank you for coming, people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I respect all you said though. It's been a very tough decision. I should come to that decision. And you can see, that's the thing. So, at the end of the day, it's ridiculous.
Thank you, councillors. Might resume the next item if we can. And we can move to item 19.2, the conference opportunities for elected member training and development, recommendation on page 77. All councillors could resume their seats. We'll get going.
No milk for coffee, so.
So the recommendation is there. There's a whole analysis of different training options. I regret I wasn't able to get to the one in Launceston at the last minute. I have a refund coming through for my portion of that. So we have a range of conference opportunities available to us, which are listed. And this item is about who we nominate to go to this next one. And there are some nominations there. So, in opening the discussion, I think you might benefit from suspending meeting procedures just to get the formalities right, and seek your leave to do so until 8:40. Should we see the need to take nominations, all those in favour of suspending meeting procedures till 8:40? Thank you. They're suspended. I understand we had a couple of nominations from Councillor Barnett and Councillor Evans and myself to go. Are there any further?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
Some work commitments have come up in March for me now, so I may struggle to make those appointments. So the interest I previously expressed, I guess I'd need to withdraw.
Right, okay, so that's withdrawn. So we have Councillor Barnett and myself. Are there any further nominations, or if that's the case? The list of other conference opportunities is provided, and there are many more. You get bombarded with these things. I just remind councillors, whilst we have suspension of meeting procedures, we are trying to get us all exposure to a variety of conference or stimulation in terms of making us think outside the square. So we've asked for things beyond the local government circle, although some of the local government opportunities are actually very good because you get to hear what other councils are doing. So can I just ask, is there any interest, while we're informal, in councillors thinking about other options before end of financial year? Councillor Rebecca?
Yeah, there was a affordable housing conference I was interested in going to, but it's not listed, so it would have to be I think I sent you an email.
I've seen that one come through, yes.
Yeah. So that would be different.
Yes, I think that's in Sydney, from memory?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think through you, the Mayor, that notification came through after we put the table together, so I apologise for the time.
Okay, thank you. This table's not exclusive, so just to make sure people understand that. Anyone else? If that is the case, then it appears the budget will be okay. I guess that's what I'm trying to ascertain. So if we go back to the nominations that we've received for the this particular conference, just remind me again, this is the Australian Smart Cities Infrastructure Conference in Sydney, 7th of March. We have Councillor Barnett and myself, and noting that CEO Kate Hart will be present as the guru on all things smart, and the guru. So if there's no further discussion, I'll pull us back in the session and ask somebody to move that way. Anybody wish to move that way? Councillor Harris.
I don't need to say anything. Two good people going, and it's Sydney, so you'll be right. Oxford Street.
Yeah, sad, but hopefully true. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Larwood, wish to speak to it?
Standing?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
I think it sounds like a great conference, but as we've got some coverage already, and Kate being on speaking, I think we'll get enough information, and I look forward to reading a detailed debrief and summary of the information that was gathered.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'll be relying on Christina to do that. Councillor Barnett. Any further debate? If there isn't any, Councillor Harris, sum up. All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Next item withdrawn was 19.3, the distribution of council agenda papers on recommendation of pages 99 to 100. Councillor Evans, just a brief reason why you withdrew it. You want to move it?
I'm happy to move it, and more or less just to make note and reference to it, as it was a motion that I moved in other business a few months ago. So I guess I proceed to...
Sorry, I thought that was your speech.
No. Other than, so slightly informally, Joe and I have touched base on it. It is probably a deeper discussion around how we can get the highest and best use of documents that we circulate, and how that can be produced, I guess, both in a form that's accessible digitally as well as paper. There are some more complexities to it. There are some more moving parts to it. Complex solution, we need to get it right. It's important, I guess, from my perspective in proposing it to begin with, that it stays on the agenda, because if it doesn't, it's easy to forget and to keep doing things the way we've always done them. So just to draw attention to that fact, to thank Council for their support of the motion, to understand that staff are going to continue to do some research as well over the course of the coming months, and come back to us in due course with something that's more detailed and I guess scoped out. So with that, I thank the staff again for their interest, and support the recommendation.
Thank you. I have a second. Councillor Harris, I saw first.
Well, mine might be as sensible as what you people want. I just want to second it, because I'm flicking through here my 158 pages on a little 6x4 square, And I have said for 18 years I love paper to be able to read things, but people took them tonight, so I couldn't. So I'm glad that we come to a thing and have a report and look at, particularly at times I've pulled one out and I don't even reckon I'll get to it before it's time. So I'm glad that we've got a situation where we're looking in the future of how we could maybe communicate either through this sort of stuff or papers.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Barnett and then back on.
Yeah. Yes, I support this, and certainly any improvement I'll be gratefully accepting, because it brings me to some. I'm wondering whether this will also overflow into our emails, because increasingly, I think it's maybe it's the size of the PDFs or that, but I try. You just can't bring it up. You've got to save it, and then go back and have a look at it or print it out. And I think it's the size of the documents. So I'm just hoping. Previously. It's probably some years ago now. It's 1917 now, isn't it? But if you could, 2007. Oh my God, what's happening? At any rate, yes, me and my TARDIS here. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that somehow that might all be in something like that, or looked at. So yeah. Because, previously you could click on the browser thing that'll bring it up. Now, I think it's the size of the PDFs or whatever it is. No way, they say.
Thank you. Councillor Deback.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to go a bit more broadly with this, because this is talking about electronic communications and just looking around paper communications. I think we really need to focus back on sustainability. So
what, sorry?
Sustainability. We don't use it much, that word very much. Sustainability. So earlier on, in my term, we talked about the fact of printing documents, and I still see a lot of colour copies around the table, and that is concerning. I think one of the directors had mentioned in a previous council that they only did black and white, and I think we need to tie this digital response also into a sustainable outcome, because we actually want to reduce our paper usage and colour printouts, and I think that's just best practice. So I'd like to see that, please.
Yeah, thank you. Any further debate on the side? No. Councillor Evans, you see you need to sum up? Okay, conclude the debate. All those in favour? Against, it's carried. Staff are looking guilty because they force us to read on an iPad and they've all got printouts. No. That's not all true. Not all true. But it's the same. Next item withdrawn was the 1945, the Community Land Management Plan Community Consultation. Councillor Deback, just a brief reason why you threw it out and if you want to move it.
Yeah, it was just a question about, I guess, concerning that we didn't have one and that the audit committee noted it. And also there is one to do with the depot site that's currently in something, revocation. I just wanted to ask the director.
Okay, so did you want to move it at all, or you're happy to take those questions? And then you can, yep. Okay, so what your questions are about that process?
Yeah, it's really just what is being revoked, is it going to affect the library process?
So through the Mayor, I believe it was in 2015, the revocation process was initiated by Council, so it's actually in the process now. And so it needs to appear in front of the Minister for his consideration. So we're in the process of the revocation, which means we're moving the community land title on the old milk depot site.
Thank you. Councillor, any other questions? Did you wish to move it? I can second another move. Anybody else wish to move it? A long time coming, and we need to do some consultation on it. I think it's a good process to start. Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it?
This report is a long time coming, and we need to do some consultation. Thank you very much to the director and staff for the report, and we can move it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Evans, do you speak to it?
I'd look just to briefly sort of summarise as well. You know, it's a consultation phase, so look forward to receiving feedback and the next steps. Well, that's true, isn't it?
Any further debate? Just briefly from the chair. Look, it's an obvious thing we have to do, but what it will discipline us to do is to confirm what assets we want to keep and not keep. Just had a debate about 2 particular assets, but you can see from this we actually have quite a lot. Now, I've mentioned before, there's one park I think we should consider getting rid of and making another park bigger with the money. Some might say that the Charles Street Park should be a whopping great big Hoover Dam because we've got a problem down there. This is a good chance for us to have that discussion and to talk to our community about what matters to them and what status the land should have. So it may look innocuous, but it is a process that we need to go through, and we've hardly not ever done it earlier. So I encourage you to get involved. Any further debate? Councillor Barnett?
Yes, just occurred to me, I'm not sure whether I've been told this sometime before, but are there any difference between naming something an oval or a reserve or a park?
Is there?
Yes.
I'm not aware of one in terms of status. Director, can you shed any light on that?
Through the Mayor, I only want to refer to the consolidated report we've got here. There is a naming convention contained within the report.
That's our naming convention? Or under the Act?
I believe it's ours. I think it's ours.
It's ours.
Yeah.
Oh, right then, I'll reserve that. Park that for further
For overly discussion.
Yes.
Any further debate on that at all? If not, Councillor Lee is the... Sorry, Deputy Mayor?
Look, my apologies if you just asked this question, Councillor, but I heard someone say park strategy. Are you just talking about that? No, oh, good. Excellent.
I whispered it.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. I'm hearing the whispers. Just a question, because it does refer to the park strategy 2011. I thought it was a good opportunity because it's in here to ask the question, what is park strategy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Through the Mayor, I will have to take that on notice, and I'll provide you a memorandum and provide a detailed update. Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's not lost. Fine.
It's parked.
Somewhere. Reserve it there. Any further debate? If not, Councillor Lee, you see you need to sum up. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Carried. It's nearly time to... No, I wouldn't do that.
Huh? You want a break firstly?
That was a thunderous look from
I'm ready.
From Councillor Harris. You withdrew item 19.6, storm damage, December 2016. Just a brief reason, and if you want to move it.
No, I don't. I want to ask some questions, say some things about it, and oppose it. So I won't be moving it.
So you want to answer those questions now, or do you want to wait until your turn in the debate? Either way.
Well, I'll leave that up to you, but I can ask some questions. Is when was it? Because we've had another storm since. So when was this one done? And no, I don't really. I've got written down here things that are.
Let me just get that answer for you, and you can do the rest of the debate. Director, after what storm event was this report prepared, given that we've had some quite unusual weather?
So through the Mayor, this report was prepared after the December 28th storm event.
But before last week?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, yes, sorry. It's a recent storm event, yes.
As I understand it,
in between the two.
In response to one event,
yes.
Not about the September events, not about the most recent event. Just one event. Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. The withdrawer has declared he doesn't want to move it. Do I have another mover? Councillor Evans, would you speak to it?
Yes, certainly. And interested in Councillor Harris's points as well. I guess there might be something I'm overlooking, but just particularly to draw Councillor's attention to item 2 and some of the actions that are listed there in terms of next steps, particularly with regard to the Stan Watson pump. So I remember this was about the 28th or 29th of December, and I got a call at about 2 a.m. in the morning from a resident near Stan Watson Reserve where the pump didn't activate, and their premises was obviously receiving quite a bit of water as a result. The Stan Watson pump situation, as is detailed in the report, there is something we do need to jump on top of, and I'm delighted to see that there is a recommendation proposing just that. So a new power supply, which I'm led to believe was one of the causes of the outage of the pump, is that there was a power supply or a surge trip, or there was something to do with power not getting to the pump. And the other one, which is quite a new and interesting approach, and one that I'm interested to see how it works, which is we effectively put a SIM card in this pump. And so when things don't work, we're notified and we can take strict action quickly rather than have to wait for something bad to happen in order for us to find out. So those 2 points, I guess, are the focus of me wanting to move the motion, and in particular to see the Stan Watson pump as an immediate fix, which is what the recommendation does propose, and then longer term indeed to look at what other options are available to secure, I guess, stormwater, correct stormwater management in that area, which did receive quite a bit of flooding over, or a portion of flooding over recent storm events. So with that, I support the motion and look forward to the debate.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Get on the floor. If you may, Brute, you should speak to it.
Look, I won't speak to it except to say that, that I will speak to it. I'll say 2 things about it. One is just to reiterate some of Councillor Evans' comments, particularly around the need to deal with the Stan Watson pump issue. But the other issue is that this is, the report talks about unusual and frequent storm damage, unprecedented events. We're finding this is more and more common. This is not unprecedented, it's not infrequent, and it's not unusual, particularly if you look at weather patterns over the last 6 months. I don't know what that means for the next 6 months, but I think we really do need to, and which, as the report is suggesting, have a bit of a structured approach to how we deal with this, and how we engage with organisations such as SES to look at what do we do to mitigate flood damage and flooding events, particularly in the lower areas of our city. But apart from that, I commend the report and look forward to Councillor Harris's debate.
Thank you. As a withdrawer, you're next in line, Councillor.
Thank you. The previous article we had about communications and writing, please, when you're having a look at them, I'm not too good on the printing machine either. Colours come out. I got the executive summary here, and I've numbered down. I've been all prepared for this. I've gone to 1.3. This is in the executive summary, page 144, and so it was left down to the problem that happened on the 28th. There was a leading hand assessed the situation as being manageable, therefore did not call on any additional staff to assist with storm damage. I'd sent previous photos of the actual storm damage. These are taken today, yesterday, a few days. So I seen, and unfortunately, particularly the other side of Main North Road was the area I concentrated on, and I had a 3:30 call and a 5:30, and that's dealt with here in the communication at the end that we're changing or looking at that fix-up. I can't talk about the pump because I don't know. No one rang me and I wasn't involved in that. But the tree damage and stuff that comes. So 1.3, I just wanted to point out the leading hand, if that's the case, decided not to use anyone else to clean up. Then my next point goes to 1.5. 1.5, as a result, 122 tree-related storm requests for the council. So that's where I forgot before, I'm sorry, that's where my question came. So not 122 trees were damaged, they were requests to do something about the trees. Is that the idea? 1.5.
So the question there, Director, please clarify what the statistic is recording.
Yes, through the Mayor, 122 tree-related requests were lodged.
Right, because I believe there's not. Thank you. So while that's in there, there was also other trees that weren't reported. 1.8 is very important to me. All fallen tree limbs and damaged trees have been addressed and resolved by Council's City Maintenance team. Those photos I've sent around, taken, when I say now, today, on the weekend and Friday, that over the other side of the road there's still vast areas, and I put them in black and white because it was getting too dear for colour. But there's particularly the stumps that went through the top of the house and stuff that are sitting there, and one other one that I think is in a very dangerous situation, but I'll leave that entirely separate, you know. But that one worries me, that says it's done, and I haven't gone around to other people's areas. I'm only just concentrate apart from one there that's Burwood Avenue, and where a fence was damaged, but all the rest are still, and I might add, that's only a handful of the photos. I've got more photos of other trees as well. So then I went down to 1.10. 1.10 in terms of infrastructure damage, 2 private fences were damaged, no damage to road, footpath. I think some of the footpaths were, but fence damage in May Street, 3 fence damage and house damage in one in Emily Street, Asquith Street, Burwood, 2nd Avenue, a couple of them. So while they're not I don't think our concern because of the act of God stuff, you know, with the trees falling on people's faces, but they were damaged. So I've been told I've got 1 minute, so I'll cut down to where I wanted to get to the end, is what I would have liked to see in the report, and I still believe there should be a report, is what extra staff hours did we have? What was that cost? What subcontractors and hire people and their costs? And I think WorkZone was one of them. They were still there Friday. WorkZone was there cutting up tree stumps on our roads and that sort of stuff. So I'm interested in, and it has to be out of our, not out in the budget, out of the budget, because it is a bit different. What sort of cost was there in doing it? Because I only got now 25 seconds, so I wasn't quite too keen on the that pruning process. I'm just a little bit doubtful. So what I'd like to do to finish off is finish off by saying when I get to the next bit, the next thing on the agenda, I'd like to call for a further report to correct or whatever some of these things and get a more detailed report.
Thank you. Do you have any further speakers to the motion? Councillor Bunyip.
Yes, although I think it's a different storm. With the William Street situation and with the problems with the Queensland box trees down there, so yeah, I just have some concerns, and I guess some of the residents might, and it's not just particularly in that street, but where there are other Queensland box trees and have lots of issues. So perhaps through the chair to the director, are we still replacing any damaged Queensland box with Queensland box? Are we likely to be having a report about Queensland box tree planting in the city?
I'll take the question. I'm quite sure to answer the report, but I'll take the question.
Well, yeah, it's about storm damage and trees.
Through the Mayor, I know that we're consolidating the trees that we're offering across the community. Now, I'm absolutely not sure the Queensland box, whether that's been struck off the list. I know it's a problematic tree, but I can confirm that if that's somehow been struck off the planning schedule for the city.
That's quite,
yeah,
that's what I'll do.
Thank you.
Any further, Councillor Bunyip? Any further debate, Councillor Becker?
Just a couple of comments. Look, I think it's really important, the comments that Alan made, just in regards to the cost. So, I mean, I'll sort of say it, we have to really factor in resilience for climate change. I mean, the reality is we're picking up the tab for something that is a natural event, and it may have to be factored into future costs. Also, I'm interested to see what kind of tree planting we're looking at, because I don't want to become tree averse, because we actually need to be the opposite. I think we need to maintain canopies to reduce the heat for our residents, but we also need to look at species that are resilient to limb shedding, I guess. You're never going to get it perfect. But yeah, I think that's a bigger conversation, and I'd be interested to see how that comes back to council in months to come.
Okay, further debate? Just briefly from the chair, I got a call at 2:15 in the morning. Well, my phone did. I didn't take it because the phone was not near my head. From very distressed residents about rising water on Princess Street. We have a pump station down there because we have an overland flooding problem, and the pump was switched off internal processes saved the pump, didn't save the houses. I've made my views pretty clear to the director and to the staff that that's unacceptable. What we need to think about is we only have really one area that's highly prone to flooding. We have others that are susceptible, depending on the intensity of the rainfall, but really only one where the water can hold, and one house was inundated. Other rooms were in other houses, but mostly yards. I've asked the director to come back to us with a long-term solution. I hate pumps. You only know when a pump breaks when it's a crisis, like after a couple of hours of use, it burns out, and it seems to be always in the middle of the night. It's very distressing for those people that live there. I can't imagine what they went through that night. So we have loosely discussed how that might be. We don't know the answer, and we'll be engaged in that, and I suspect it won't be free. But one thing did occur to me is that we now own a corridor that has a bike path on it down by Islington train station, which gives us the opportunity to connect through to the drain that takes all that to the Barker Inlet, and run another drain up that bike path and then cut across into Churchill Road into that Charles Street area. So we haven't had that for long, and it hadn't occurred to me before that that might be an option. So I've asked the staff to think laterally about how we resolve it. I'd really love a gravity solution to that problem so that we're not so reliant on a pump, essentially. In the meantime, the staff have no option but to increase the fail-safe options and the backups. So this motion requests that they do that, particularly item 3. And the second item I wanted to speak about was the frustration our residents had with the phone service that night, our after-hours service. You can imagine the distress of rising water. One resident told me he's got a record of calling our number 15 times and not being able to get through. Now the staff have had an incredibly frustrating time trying to find the problem. You can see in the report, there's been quite a bit of work done on that. I'm glad there's now some insight into what's likely to have happened. It's completely unacceptable, in my view, and we need to work out how do we deal with that. And notice there's a report in the Advertiser today about how the state coped with the power blackout. These questions have been asked at a statewide level. Some conclude where you're on your own. When things really go bad, you just can't rely on emergency services being there because they can't be everywhere. Now, in essence, our residents did that. They realised they couldn't get through, and they realised they had to deal with it themselves. I think we need to get our service response improved. I can't guarantee that it will solve every problem every time, but we should get a lot closer than having a pump that no one knows is off, which is what happened, and our phone service not working. I think those two things are particularly unacceptable. So the CEO knows my views on that, that's pretty clear, as do the rest of the staff who are involved. So you see the first steps of that in part 3 and 4, and then in part 3 and 4 of part 2 and then part 3 as well. And I know that those things will cost us money, but I don't think we have options on those things. They're really, really important. You don't know you need them until you've got a big problem. It's too late to fix it. You've got to be ready earlier. And I take Councillor Rebecca's point that we may be solving problems that we have no options about, but that's just bad luck. We have to prepare as best we can. Thank you. Is there any further debate on that item? If not, Councillor Evans, do you wish to sum up?
Look, just briefly on a couple of points. Factoring in stormwater events in future is absolutely a good point. This is a situation where we are, I guess, in a changing climate, and indeed it's one of those things. It's an invisible service of council. We don't know we have, and indeed it's untested until something bad does happen. So to make that point again, that resilience moving forward and a greater appreciation for stormwater infrastructure, certainly over our long-term financial planning, are key points I think to take and learnings in addition to the report and the recommendations.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against? This is carried. Okay, over the page to the council diary. The twilight concerts are upon us, and check the signage. The sponsor's sign isn't up, so we'll see what that is. Anyway, it all sounds pretty good. I noticed the first one is curated by Club 582, which is it's the first time we've done that. I think Club 582 at the twilight concerts. Yeah, so that will be really good. And the food trucks, and so let's give that a go. And the other 3 there, we have a gallery opening on Sunday the 12th of February, and the Prospect Eco Market on the 25th of February, right here in the Town Hall and Lions Beach Plaza. And that last one was really successful, so get down and have a look. I have another item I've been notified of, it's not on your agenda, and that is the Urban Green Link Corridor Community Consultation. Read that again, Urban Green Link Corridor Community Consultation. That's on Saturday the 25th of February, and at the Irish Heart Reserve on 350 Regency Road. So, is that our consultation? Right?
Sent that, will we?
Is that right? Is that ours? Yeah.
We'll be sent that through as
So,
a...
yeah, can you send us some more information about that? Sorry, it's just been put on you at the last chance. Okay. So now moving to general business, we have one foreshadowed item for general business, and so we have two foreshadowed items for general business. Take Deputy Mayor's first.
Urgent business. Just be, can I?
Hang on, I don't think so. No.
Abuse it.
Yeah, we have.
Well, I'll put one of mine there.
What you want to raise, either of you, is not genuinely urgent, so I struggle to accept under that. You certainly can ask for a report under general business.
I have got one. We'll go under that.
You think about that, what we do with the Deputy Mayor. Can you write it down? Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Send him some pictures.
Look, thank you, Mayor. Obviously, first of all, thank you to the gallery for staying on what is a very important issue. I mean, there was a lot of sentiment around the tram barn site, and I think everyone spoke about it tonight when they spoke about this particular issue. So what I want to do, I need to read this, don't I? The staff will get a report in respect to the options associated with the sale of the Main North Road depot site, bordered by Johns Road and Gordon Road, which achieves the revenue targets as modelled for the community hub, library and innovation centre options XA, whilst retaining the tram barn site in council ownership. So what this is doing is asking for some, I guess, intelligence from our council staff, and no doubt they'll be talking to consultants beyond just council staff, to work out whether we can actually keep the tram barn. We'll still proceed with the site here on Prospect Road, but maintain the tram barn in our ownership, but still meet the revenue targets that have been set for that particular property on Main North Road to make sure that our financial modelling is not affected. That's effectively what we're trying to do. It will give us some more information about whether that's a possibility for us to deal with, and we can manage whatever implications come out of that once we get the report from staff. The only thing I would maybe do is, if I can, maybe put a time frame on that, because it is urgent. I'll look at staff to tell me whether I'm realistic or not. If we had something come back to the next council meeting.
Yeah, through the chair, all efforts we made, bearing in time the turnaround time for an agenda gives us 2 weeks, might be difficult.
So
March, I could almost guarantee.
March council meeting.
Yep. Yes.
And of course, if it could be in February, that's great. But March, yeah. So I'll put that to the floor and see whether there's any support for it.
Anyway, have a second.
Okay.
You go.
Harris, I saw first, but can you two sort out who's going first or second?
No, you'll say it's a conspiracy. Yes, look, I listened to all the things tonight, so this is ask and report to look at the possibility of keeping the tram barn within council, and I can't see how we can say any different, because that's what I said about half an hour ago. Quite happy to move it.
Thank you. Second. Any further debate? Been plenty said on this, and I no doubt this will be an interesting discussion when it comes back. That concludes debate. You need to sum up your own speech.
Yeah, 5 minutes, sir.
Oh, no, please not.
No.
And that concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. General business number 2, foreshadowed by Councillor Harris.
Yes, the reason I didn't write it down is because it's fairly simple. I'd like a update report on the storm damage, which includes cost, repairing and future ban hours. And I can give you the list of the points I pointed out.
Cost of.
A further updated report.
Not bad report, which includes the cost of
the cost of repairing
Or attending to the storm damage?
Attending to and repairing what is necessary, because we do have trees involved and holes in the grounds and things like that.
Storm damage. Now, can you define which event, or over the last 6 months, we've had 4 big storms?
Well, I know we've still got some of the stuff around from the one before, but I'm going to stick with the December one and
most recent one.
And most recent one, yeah.
Storm damage from the December 28th event and the January event. Is that right? That date right?
Yeah.
Where were you on the night?
Last 2 months.
And I don't need to say much on it apart from I do remember the whirly that came through on December the 14th, 1984 and wiped out Eva Street, every roof, every fence, and left all our trees, including the magnificent big gum that's still there. All fences were gone and 3 of the roofs were gone. And so did Rapid Surf Ski. They lost them all. Streets, not all the trees stayed.
Thank you. Councillor Harris, have a seconder. Councillor DeBacker, wish to speak to it?
Look, just briefly, I think the reports are really useful because these are the kind of events that affect our residents, most acutely. What I'd like to do is incorporate a bit more of our digital advantage by including sort of GIS reporting. So when we actually have a storm like this, we get a visual snapshot and a bit of a heat map of where things have been affected. Because I guess someone will say, this street or that street, and sometimes if you're not familiar with everywhere, you might not have a good sense of where it is, but I think it would be good standard practice for some more reporting to come visually to council.
Yeah, can I just turn it into a bit of a question?
Okay.
Just because there may be a year's cost associated with popping it, but the question is, have we recorded it on the GIS information system? So on the ATM machine. Do we have it on our information system as to which trees and what streets already?
Through the Mayor, yes, we have. We've picked up all the damaged trees and easily converted onto a GIS system. All of our trees are on a GIS system as specified in the report.
So is Councillor DeBacker's request to provide that in the report possible without significant expense?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah. Thank you. Take it on notice. Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Green.
Thank you. I just had a question actually in relation to trees, and this gives me the opportunity to ask it. In terms of our trees, are they insurable, and do we insure them? Through the Mayor, this is quite a complex issue, as you'd appreciate, because we've tried to, and Chris would vouch for this, we tried to entertain whether we could treat a tree as an asset, no different to a road or a curb. It's quite difficult. There's a lot of accounting standards around that. And until we can prove that it's an asset, then maybe we can insure it. But at this stage, it would be difficult to. So we don't currently, but look, I can explore that a bit. No, that's not just.
Anything further? Seems a nonsense that someone we've not considered trees an asset. Well, anyway, any further debate?
Oh, look, mine as well. No, I'll leave the council jokes aside. I'm just wondering if Councillor Harris would be prepared to maybe accept a slight amendment to the motion. And what I'm looking to achieve by that is that I know that the staff are working through a range of technology options, which I guess kind of goes to Councillor DeBacker's point around how we can better track and how we can better monitor these events, not necessarily weather events, but the impact that events have on our infrastructure. And I'm just wondering whether or not understanding that in a bit more detail is something that we would think would be worth considering. So opportunities for, better surveillance and better tracking of assets, I guess, is where I'm going.
The suggestion was an amendment. What would the wording of that be? I haven't given it deep consideration.
Repairing storm damage, including opportunities for further reporting, making use of new techniques and technologies or something. I guess I don't want to substantially change what Councillor Harris is looking to achieve by it, but we may be able to get some more information out of the report through focusing on some of these new initiatives that are being investigated.
Can I suggest at the end use of technologies to record location of damage?
And I don't know, maybe a question to the Director, is that a fair request as well?
Director?
Through the mayor, look, I think that's pretty sound. We can come back with a report on that request.
If Councillor Harris would be prepared to accept it.
And perhaps in your proposed amendment, which I'll ask the member about in a second, the word including opportunities could be and opportunities. Works better, I think. Happy with that? I'll now ask the mover if you have to incorporate that change into your motion.
I am happy to do that, and I'll explain in my closing thing why I'm happy to do that.
A long yes. Thank you. Councillor De Backer, can you confirm that you're happy to incorporate that with a yes or a no?
Can I speak to it, or?
No.
It's fine.
Affirmative.
I think that's a yes. I don't seek leave of the meeting to incorporate the change into the motion. All those in favour of the change? Thank you. Accepted. Now becomes the motion. Any further debate on the motion? Actually, you, Councillor Harris, seconder. Yeah. Councillor Harris is the summer.
Yes. The reason I was happy to accept the paper coming on, because when I do speak to the Director or whatever, and my photos are something, but you know, we could say, oh, come down here, have a look at a map, and here's this one, this one, this one, and you could do it. So I think it would assist. It would assist whoever wrote the report for for the Director, in the fact that they wouldn't have perhaps put some of these things that weren't quite true in there. So I'm happy to move it as it is. And you want me to stand for my next thing I'm going to bring up? No.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour of that item? Against? It's carried. And you have a further item of general business?
Last one. Thank you. Still trees, still damage. I just sent the Director 2 photos, possibly. Did I? I hope.
He was fully focused on the meeting.
I hope. But it's two trees in particular, and I think I'm calling for action as opposed to a report on this tree on the corner of Rolfe Street and California, and I have sent it across the Director that our council people have trimmed it after, but it's split right down the middle, and could actually, if we just have another freak storm or whatever, in it for days, I could see it just go and snap onto the property, you know. And the other one's tree in Balfour Street by the school, number 17. The kids go back to school, I think, next week, and there's storm damage up the top that could fall on the Volvo or the kids. And could I please, in that same breath, ask, because the school's going back next week, the footpath and street needs some form of sweeping, otherwise the tin lids are going to have to climb across all the bark and chips. Is that RALF?
Thank you for that. So you're raising that as a minor nature for action by the administration.
Yeah, and it's just the school comes back next week.
A tree on the corner route from California and a tree at 17 Alpha. Thank you.
Could be 19.
Any further items of general business? Councillor Lowood? It's okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure whether this is general business or not.
I'll determine that for you. Fire away.
I noticed that the rubbish bin on Prospect Road outside the Vietnamese restaurant was in a feral state probably 5 or 6 days after Terrific Street Party. So it was laden with stuff on the top, in front of it, around it. And I wondered whether that was our responsibility to clean that or a contractor's responsibility to clean that.
It's ours ultimately. So the question is,
why wasn't it cleaned?
Why wasn't it cleaned? Is that one? Yeah. Director, did we have a blinker look up and down the street when we were cleaning up? Has anyone got an answer, or we just take it? We've got to fix it.
Yeah, we've got to fix it.
Yeah. We left it like that to look the same as the other ones.
Everything else is perfect, and the Director will leave one thing for us to notice. Any further items of general business?
Attention.
Is there any general business of an urgent nature? No. Okay. Comprehensive items there are nil. Declare the meeting closed. And in doing so, and informally, because it's not on the agenda, tonight was a very big decision in the pathway towards us resolving the announcement that we can't renew our lease at Thomas Street Centre. Incidentally, I feel sure that if we did renew our lease over there, we'd be spending a substantial amount of money on the place because it's falling apart. I have great faith in us as a council that we will now pull together and work out how to get the absolute best result out of the decisions made tonight, notwithstanding what Deputy Mayor has asked for to come back to us in March. I look forward to that discussion. I don't think that'll be an easy discussion either. But let's get on with this. We've got a lot of things to do. Our community reference group's first meeting is in February, I think. It's first week of Feb, so I'm really super keen that they're going to be on board and getting their teeth into a whole range of matters. We also need to discuss how big this thing will be and what will be in it. So if you could start turning your minds to some of the more detailed aspects around this, that would be terrific. So I'm sure that's what the staff are going to come back and ask us.
It's a better name.
Well, we've given that challenge before, and that'll be part of the consultation. But can I please also, from the Chair, thank people for the debate tonight. I thought it was really respectful. It didn't get personal. I think people put their own position incredibly well. And I think that's a great commendation for us as a council, a gallery of people watching us. And I think the debate was intelligent and really well informed. So I thank all of you
for the winners.
Happy for you to join me in some refreshments.